Hi, my name is Ryan. I'm 25. I was in my apartment. Halfway through rehiding Lever Pizza when my phone buzzed with a call from an unknown number. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something told me to answer. Ryan, a woman's voice said, "It's Marissa." Aaron's mom is straightened up, surprised. "Oh, hi, is everything okay? Sorry to bother you," she said quickly. "I wouldn't call if it wasn't weird. There's some kind of animal in the basement. It's making a ton of noise, and I have no idea what to do." Ron said. "You are good with this kind-of stuff." I blinked, unsure if I'd just been drafted into pest control and animally think it's a raccoon, she said, her voice exasperated. "I tried calling animal control, but they're hours out. I'm kind of losing it." I hesitated for half a second, then grabbed my keys. "I'll be right over." When I pulled into their driveway, she was already outside, arms folded over her chest, pacing in smellunction steps. Near the porch, her hair was pulled into a loose ponytail, and sure, an oversized sweatshirt, leggings, and running shoes, like she'd been halfway through something casual. Before the whole thing started, her expression eased a little when she saw me. "Thank God," she said, half laughing. "Sorry, Ichno. This is not exactly what you signed up for when you became friends with Myson." "No problem," I said, stepping out off car. "Do you have a flashlight, ye hand gloves?" "If you want them." She led mine side down the hall to the basement door. I could already hear the noise scratching, a low thump, something shifting near the far wall. She handed me headlamp and a pair of thick leather gloves, like she'd done this before. "Just promise me one thing," she said, ice wide. "Don't get rabies." I smiled. "I'll do my best." I headed down, careful on the steps, heart beating a little faster than I expected. After a few minutes off quiet moving light scanning and some softly spoken coaxing, I spotted RaccooN behind an old cabinet. I managed get the window open, nudge it toward the exit with a broom handle, and watch it scramble out like it had somewhere urgent to be. When I came back upstairs, dusty but triumphant, she handed me glass of lemonade. "Your aloe saver," she said. We sat on the back porch while I drank it. The air was quiet except for a few birds and the occasional bark from somewhere down the block. She leaned back in the chair, visibly relaxing now that the noise was gone and the house was calm again. Scheduled me. Aaron was out for the weekend, some ski trip with his girlfriend, and that she'd been trying to finally clean out the basement, but had ended up with an unexpected guest instead. I didn't ask Mac. Beyond that, she was funny. Thaudry's sense of humor talked with her hands, told me about how she used to play volleyball back in college. That day ended without anything happening. Just conversation, just lemonade. But something stuck after that. She waved whenever I came by. Sometimes I'd be at Aaron's house waiting for him to get home, and she'd ask if I could help carry something down from the attic, or fix a stuck window, or lift a box she couldn't reach. Sometimes she'd hand me leftover space. She made too much at first. It just felt like casual help. I didn't think much of it, but looking back now, it was like something was slowly waking up in both of us. It started small. Laren would be upstairs gaming with his headset on, and I'd be in the kitchen helping her change a light bulb, or she'd call out, "Ryan, you mind helping me with this cabinet door?" And I'd follow her into the laundry room while Aaron was blasting music from behind a closed doors, always insisted on feeding me toward. Sandwiches, pasta, grilled fish sade, it was the least she could do. Learned things about her. Slowly she had a way of sharing just enough without ever feeling like she was oversharing, she told me. Aaron's dad had passed away a few years ago, that things had been hard for a while after that she'd started working more hours just to keep from thinking too much, she told me. A other daughter, Melanie, who'd just finished shed grad school and moved to the East Coast, about her father who used to play classical guitar but had lost most office memory to Alzheimer's, about Thesholder she injured during a volleyball tournament in Spain and how it still locked when it rained, and I just listened on afternoon. I was helping her transplant lavender near the side fence. Soil was dry and we were both down in our knees, hands dirty. She leaned over to brush hair from her face, and her face, ears, left a streak of dirt across her cheek. I laughed and reached out instinctively to wipe it off with mithum. She froze just for a second, our eyes locked, and then she smiled, small, unsure about real. That was the first time I saw it, the shift, the moment the air between us thickened with something more than just friendly favors and shared dinner plates. Later that day, when I was getting ready to leave, she stood by the sliding glass door and said, "You've been real good to me, Ryan." I shrugged. "It's nothing." "It's not nothing." She didn't say more, and neither did Score. But that night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Thiwe. Her hand brushed mine when we both reached for the same tell, the way her law lingered after I told her the dumb story about Aaron falling asleep during an exam. The way she had looked at team like she wasn't supposed to, but couldn't help it from that day on. Webbeth knew something was happening, but didn't name it, not yet. It felt like standing at the edge of a cliff, toast curled over the drop, waiting to see if other person would jump first, and neither of us had wings. It was 8th Thursday evening when I stayed longerthon. I should have. Aaron had gone out with friends, some bar crawl or trivia night, and I had come over earlier to help Marissa move some boxes from the attic. Nothing major. Just decorations. Looks a few bins labeled Melanie. Stuff. Worked for about an hour, passing things down the narrow, pulled-down ladder, while dust floated in the slanted sunlight from the tiny attic window. Wafted. She poured us wine. We sat on the floor of the living room, back-zaned the couch, laughing over how on-off the boxers had burst open and splayed a pile of old Halloween costumes. Held up a witch's hat and put it on. She laughed so hard she snorted, then covered her mouth in mock horror. It felt to see. To a seed, some point the laughter faded in Tokyo. Conversation about music. Regrets how different life turns out from what you expect, I told her. Never really knew my mom. She pissed when I was 6. She told me Aaron's dad used to be different. Used to home more, used to look at her likes, mattered people, drift. Ooh. She said quietly, sometimes you don't even notice until the space between you is to toe fix. I looked over at her, then her wine glass dangled from her fingers, half forgotten. Her legs were folded beneath, and the soft lamp glow brought out gold in her hair. And then she looked at me. That look didn't last long, but it didn't need to. I leaned in slowly, waiting to feel a pullback, a sign toast top. It never came. Our lips met soft lidge. Once, then again longer. Her hand moved up to the side of my face, fingers trailing on my jaw like she was memorizing it. My glass rolled gently onto the carpet. Beside us, forgotten there wasn't urgency, just something unspoken breaking. The surface, she pulled back first, her breath unsteady. This is dangerous, I know, but neither of us moved away that night. I didn't go home until after midnight. We didn't sleep together, Nate. Then, but something shifted, something cracked open, and we didn't close it. The next few days were full of tension, the quiet kind that sits in the room with you. Even when you're not speaking, Eastall came by, still helped with things, but the air was different. She wore softer clothes. Her perfume lingered longer when she passed me, and when lift her fingers brushed my wrist just a second too long the first time we crossed a line. Really crossed it came a week later, and it wasn't clumsy, it wasn't guilty. It felt in that moment like something both of us had needed for a long time. But as with all beautiful stolen things, it didn't come without a cost. After that night, after the line was well and truly crossed, things didn't spiral the way I thought they might. There was no storm of guilt, no awkward distance. If anything, we slipped into our rhythm that felt natural, dangerous, but natural. She didn't say much about it, neither did I. But the way her hand found me beneath the table, the way her smile softened when Aaron wasn't looking thatsate enough, Marissa left the back, Duran locked, sometimes told me I could come be when it was quiet, said it like it was nothing, but we both knew better. Her house changed after that light. Slower music, always playing soft, slow stuff like she needed something gentle in the background. She wore robes that barely clung to her frame, tied loose, and she'd smile from the kitchen. When I arrived, Asif, this had always been our normal. Whenever talked about the future, never used words like love. It wasn't that kind of thing. It was quiet, mature, something mad between long silences and soft gasps. In rooms that weren't meant for this, sometimes we'd just lie in bed after facing opposite directions, but touching. She'd talk about her 20s abutho. She used to want to be a journalist, how life changed, how no one really prepares you for what happened. Shen. People stop seeing you as a person and start only seeing the roles you film employ. Housekeepery listened. I told her things I had made out loud in years about my dad's silence growing up, about how I always felt like Ty was waiting to become something worth noticings, reached across the sheets and ran her fingers through my hair. You're really that, she said like it was the easiest truth in the world. The hardest part wasn't what we were doing, it was so easy it became. I started slipping in nearly mornings when Aaron was out on runs or still asleep. Sometimes I'd park a few streets down just in case she'd greet me in the hallway, hair still damp from the shower, robe pulled snug. We didn't say much, just moved around each other like we'd done this 100 times. And maybe that's what scared us both, because eventually the world started catching you.